I want to just ask about Rasmus Hojlund. I don't think he's R9. I don't think he's Wayne Rooney or anything like that. But when it comes to the team maybe becoming more settled and our best team being picked, is Rasmus the guy for now that should be the starting number 9 in your opinion, gents?
This really sad thing about Rasmus is I truly believe there's a good player in there, but he should be our number 2, number 3 player, first off the bench for at least the next 2-3 years, maybe. He should have got the Ahmad treatment, if we're being honest. I feel like, but I don't think we definitely don't have that time. But to answer your question, I do think he brings more to the team than Rashford does in the 9. That's just me. So I would personally stick with Hojlund because I think there's a player in there, and I think he's more likely to swim than sink. And I think Rashford's probably going to sink if he's in a 9.
I think with Hojlund is that you can tell he's desperate to score. Even though sometimes he like today we saw that chance that Bruno put in that nice ball in. If he touches that goes in, and he wasn't there. But you can still see the desire to be there. Many of our strikers in the last few years have had no desire to be in a position to score goals. And the thing with Rasmus is that he has that desire. And I don't care what anyone says, he's a bloody good finisher.
He is.
Give him a chance on that left foot. Well, I would say a good 7 times out of 10, he's scoring a goal.
I want to throw a few stats out there. At the group stage of the Champions League last year, nothing about us going out in the group stage of the Champions League last year was his fault. He was the top goal scorer at the end of the group stage. He's currently the top goal scorer this season in the Europa League. No player his age or younger has ever had this many goals in Europe for Man United in our club's history. You don't have statistics like that, facts like that, if you're an absolutely awful finisher. Do I think he's a complete footballer? No. Do we need more in our squad? Absolutely. There is a little bit of Haaland about him, maybe without being as clinical, where there are certain games where you need a lot more. And that's about squad building. And ironically, City had that last season and the season before when they had Julian Alvarez. You've taken him away, and suddenly there's that hole in their squad as an example. But listen, I've always liked Rasmus Hojlund, and I've always felt, and this is where I will agree. We had fights over it, me and Staffy. I do want a forward who can create more of his own goals. I wouldn't lie about that. But I still think there's an absolutely fundamental and important part of our squad for a player like Rasmus Hojlund. Especially if we're creating chances. Sorry, go on, Staffy.
No, I was going to say, I think the problem is with the question that you asked. I think you were asking basically, should he be our consistent starter?
No.
And my issue is that we don't have good combinations up front where anyone is a consistent starter. I think the only one that should always be starting, and when I say always, I don't expect them obviously to play 90 minutes every game for the season. Like I'm just talking about our best 11. I think it's Ahmad. The issue is that we keep chopping and changing because these players have proven to us the inconsistencies that they have, and some of them just don't work together. Like we're one of the few teams where you look at and you can't name their best front three, and there's a reason for it. Most of them are just not good enough. So it's like, as an example, when Garnacho plays, I know him and Hojlund are going to have bad combinations. But I feel like when you put Xerxes, Garnacho's going to have a better game. Same thing with Hojlund. I feel like Hojlund, if you give him better creators around him and better ball carriers, he ends up looking better. When you demand him to drop a little bit deeper and then he picks up the ball and tries to do the Xerxes, he looks bad. Same thing for Xerxes. If you give him better runners around him and better finishers, I think he doesn't look as bad as he does. Today, he played next to Rashford. I'm going to lie. Rashford at this point just makes everyone look bad. So this is why I'm looking at every game and based on the rotations, because we do have a lot of games to play this season. People don't understand is we play a game every 3 days. You cannot possibly put a
Can I ask you a question on that? I want to get your opinion on something. Sorry to interject.
No problem. Go ahead.
Do you think Ahmad, he made the mistake, but do you think Ahmad gave that ball to Rashford in an attempt so Rashford could maybe get a score and get his goal and get his confidence up, as opposed to doing the right thing? Because that's the first thing that went through my head was, because they probably like each other, right? Stop trying to help your mate and do the right thing for the team. That's the first thing I thought of when he did that, because Bruno was the obvious option.
Yeah, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, go on, Stephen.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if I'm being honest with you, I think the only reason he didn't pass it to Bruno is because he didn't see him. And that's actually not a good thing. If you look at it again, because I watched it again, I was like, how does someone with Ahmad's intelligence not make that pass, because he makes that pass a lot. And I saw it again, and not once did he look to his right. He saw Rashford make that run earlier. He knew when I get to a certain point, I'm just gonna lay it off to him. I think his decision was already made about 3-4 strides before he made the pass.
Maybe, yeah.
And that's where the issue was. The thing about Ahmed, I feel like he hasn't played in that position a lot. I rate him a lot, and I do know he has the technique to make these type of passes. I feel like he just hasn't been in that position a lot. When you play on the wing, it's much more easier than to play in the middle, because in the middle, it's like you're in the middle of the sea. Whereas where you're on the wing, you just know that there's nothing to the right of you. Everything's to the left. The decision most times is being made. I looked at that and I was like, if he has a consistent run of games in that position, I think he'll get more in his creative bag, because he does have the ability. I just feel like it's kind of rusty, like he hasn't been doing it much because he's been pushed to the side, and that's fine with me, because I'll be honest with you. There's this notion that these creative players, they always get the right decision on every attempt. They'll compare him to the best creators in history, be like, oh, but that player would have done this, that player would have done that. I'll be honest with you. Go as an example. Go look at Eden Hazard, and go look how many times did he get the wrong pass. He just doesn't get remembered because he was such a brilliant player. This notion that we get every player that we rate is always going to get the right decision, it's not going to happen. So I'm kind of disappointed he didn't play it to Bruno. But
but you are right about the way you remember. You know, if Rashford leaves and we don't improve, and he goes to PSG and starts scoring, lots of people will forget about nights like tonight and go, I just remember when he was good. Everyone gets revisionism at the right time.
Someone tweeted.
I'm gonna love that.
Someone put a tweet today. Sorry, Cajun. Someone put a tweet and they were like, bring De Gea back after that pass. And I just remember, I was like, De Gea's last ever game in the Europa League for us, he gave away the ball to Sevilla and they scored and we lost.
Yeah,
so if you're criticizing Ronaldo for that, literally De Gea did the same thing on his last ever game.
It's so crazy. Ray here says, I always said that this was a long road back. I ain't doing player FC. We are a football club. We need to rebuild slow and take some L's until we are consistent. Ray, you're spot on there, mate. Rashford is my favorite, but at this point, I don't care who leaves as long as United gets better. And that should be everybody's motivation. Everybody that pretends to be or is a Man United fan, that should be your motivation. But you can easily tell that people have ulterior motives when it comes to that. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Gentlemen, it is always a pleasure to sit and speak football. I want to congratulate United on the win tonight and congratulate Amarim for another victory. I want to congratulate Ahmad and Rasmus, who really, really stood out for us tonight and made themselves be counted. We're back tomorrow with more content, including straight facts. It's going to be 3 p.m. UK time, Staffy, because you'll be the only one who's not up tomorrow. But remember, Dan Lawless has got to eat the hot chip tomorrow, so that's going to be there. So 3 p.m. UK.
I'm always losing these flipping.
Well, I think when we play these fantasy football games, I think it starts to really test people's. By the way, Staffy, if I pick an additional player for you this week, don't moan, because 2 weeks running.
I'm not going to.
2 weeks running, the person I've thrown in, because you only picked 5, not 6, that I've thrown in has been the reason you didn't come bottom 2 weeks running. Right.
To be fair, I just keep forgetting that I'm thinking it's 5 aside, so I keep picking 5 players.
Six.
But then I remember it's 6. So every week you have to pick one for me.
You know what's crazy, right? As well, how much did you celebrate when Son got that consolation goal?
Did you not hear my voice? No, I celebrated like I was a Spurs fan.
I didn't listen to it. It was so funny because the way the teams were picked is the whole Spurs Tottenham game. It was basically if Son gets an assist or goal, Staffy comes third from bottom and Lawless goes bottom, because they practically had the same. All their players are the same, barring Son and the player that Lawless had played earlier, right? Who'd done nothing. So all he needed was Son to get a goal or an assist. And when he scored in like the 93rd minute or whatever and got that, it was like Lawless.
So I moved from bottom on the 93rd minute of that game. Last kick of the
last kick of the game. So Lawless did the raw eggs last week, and he did the